All right, so this is all you're going to do to completely disassemble and reassemble your standard Glock 19. This is a Gen 3. It's going to be basically the same for Gens 1, 2, 3, and 4. 5 is a little bit different, but not much. But anyways, here we go. As always, you always want to make sure you have no magazine, no ammo. Go ahead and remove the slide. And you're left with your frame. The first order of business, I like to remove this top pin here. That's going to take some spring pressure off of your trigger pin there. So use a 1/8 punch. Get that pin out. Now this is a lot less tension on there. Go ahead and grab a hold of your slide release lever. Kind of wiggle it around until you feel that it's in the middle. And apply steady pressure. You'll feel that pop out. And pull this guy out. And now you can pull your locking block out. We do have the back pin for your trigger housing, and push that through. Now you have your trigger housing. You can grab a hold of your ejector and just pull all that out. You have your magazine release or your magazine catch. I like to use a dental pick. And all you're doing is getting in there and pulling the spring out of its catch. Once that's out, you can push this through, pull it, grab needle nose pliers, and pull that spring. It's a little spring rod. Now that's free. Now for your what is that? The slide lock there. I like to use a really skinny Allen wrench. You can use something like that, or a little flathead works great for me. Push down on the spring. Once you got it started, you can just kind of push it the rest of the way through. You can get under it and pop it out. That can go flying, so don't go too crazy with that. Now your Glock frame is completely disassembled. There's nothing left to it but to put it back together in reverse order. So I'll take my locking block, the slide lock spring. The short leg goes down into the frame. You want to get that same tool that you used to remove it and kind of push that down and in. Now this is one of the things that can go flying if you're not careful with it. So now your slide lock, there has a little groove on the bottom and a little groove to the back. So remember, the groove, the flat face goes towards the front and the little groove goes towards the bottom. So you want your little groove to go towards the back and that little notch to go towards the bottom. So you're going to start that in. And just as it's about to go under the spring, you're going to hold it there, push the spring down, and get it over the spring. Just pop it in. That's in place. Now your little spring rod for the magazine catch. I like to put my finger through, and then this is going to go between my finger and the frame. You can drop it right here and just kind of guide it through, nice and flat. It's going to go into like a V notch that's against the front strap here. As soon as it starts to go into that notch, use one of your punches and just push on it from the top. It should go almost all the way down through that little channel. and then you'll feel when it stops, and you're good there. Get your mag catch started in there. Once it makes contact with that spring, you're going to use one of your punches and go through the small side. Push the spring up and let the mag catch slide through. Now just put it back into its notch. You're going to be pressing on this end and pressing on the spring this way. And it'll click into the notch. And that's good. That's good. So you got your pins. I like to use the back pin on the trigger housing first. So obviously if you're going to disassemble it to remove or install a trigger, this would be the time to pull the trigger bar out of the trigger housing. You just kind of twist and then pull the spring up and out. It'll grab the back of the spring here. And then you could either unscrew that or just, grab your new trigger bar if it comes with the whole trigger bar, or break your pin and then put the trigger shoe in. This one's already done, so I'll just put this back together. Twist, pop it in. Put the trigger housing and the trigger in at the same time. Those will just drop in. Make sure your trigger bar is kind of pulled forward a little bit. Drop that in. Once that's in and you can see light through the trigger housing pin hole, go ahead and put the smallest of the pins through there. And now you got your locking block. The skinny legs are towards the top and pointing to the front. Sometimes these are a little tight to get on, but it's no big deal. Push those all the way in. Now you put your slide lock, your slide catch. Now you get your trigger pin, the biggest of the pins. You just want to look down the bigger hole and make sure that everything shows light through. Push that through. This one's always going to want to pop out. You're going to hold that forward and up, and then guide that pin through. Now your barbell pin. I usually don't need to guide this in too crazy, but sometimes you'll use a little flathead and push the spring down. You want that spring to be under the pin, so the pin goes over that spring. Once those are all in, I use a punch to kind of center my pins. This one came in from this side, and they're all back together. All done.